Hey everybody, Jake here from Bearded Gear, and I gotta do my first impressions on the Gungnir. This is a Renegade Provisions Co, I believe is how he's labeling it. My buddy Renegade EDC, who now also goes by Renegade Provisions Co, to sell a lot of his products. This is his knife. This is a prototype of it, I should say. So, this is a prototype of his coming production knife that Riat is building. And I'm really lucky. I'm the second person who's been able to check out this prototype. He's got two at the moment floating around as some of our friends, and basically there's two versions going around. I really wanted to see the one with the wire clip, and he made that happen, which I am super grateful for. The one I will be pre-ordering when the pre-order goes live will be the one with the wire clip. This is an awesome wire clip. So yeah, I've had this knife in pocket now 2 whole days straight, and I want to get a first impressions shot because this coming Friday, that's in 5 days, yeah, it's Monday as I'm shooting this, I'll be doing my full review, and then I should also that day be recording my podcast with Chris from Renegade Provisions Co / Renegade EDC, and we're going to be talking a whole lot about this knife, but also about other projects, some of which include me. We've got some stuff coming out together, which will be really exciting. He does hanks and leather work, and he just launched some mugs. I just ordered one of those. He does a lot of really cool stuff. He also does beard balm. He farms bees. Like he does a lot of stuff. But this is the Gungnir, and I've been excitedly following along as he's been going about this project because we've been in a group chat for quite a while, and we're all really close in there. We share pretty openly a lot of stuff that's going on. I talk a lot about my knife project that's in the works with Riat as well, and it's been exciting to kind of be like in tandem going through this process. He's obviously a little bit ahead of me in the sense that he has a prototype here now, and I'm waiting for prototypes at the moment. But this thing is sweet, and I've been getting familiar with it from the time that it was like a design concept to when drawings were sent to the OEM to when like decisions were being made on it and all that kind of stuff, and so it's cool to see it here now. This is through and through Chris's design. I'm not in any way trying to say that like I inspire to influence this. I've just been able to watch it happen, which is really exciting, and I'm proud of him because this is awesome. So first impressions, I'm going to not dive super deep in this video. In the full review, I'll try to dive much deeper, but I'm just going to share at the moment the things that have stuck out to me the most about the knife without going into like categorically all the features and specs and all that. But I will touch on this knife is huge. This knife is not for people who are unwilling to carry large knives, although we'll address that a little bit too, because maybe it kind of could be, but it's gigantic. When I own one of these, it will probably be the largest folder in my collection. That's tough to say. So like right now, let me give you a scale of how big this knife is, because I think this illustrates it pretty well. If you're familiar with the Spyderco Subvert, the danger banana, if you will, this knife, in some ways, I think makes the danger banana look a little bit small. Makes it look a little slender, right? It's a much wider profile. But in overall length, they're actually pretty neck and neck, right? They're similar overall length knives. But where it gets real interesting is that this knife is so much thinner than the Subvert. And that is the biggest takeaway I think I have so far. I don't know, maybe it's not the biggest one because we're going to talk about some other ones, but this knife is thin. It's really thin. It's not like thinner than a typical knife. Like here, let me grab, I don't have that much stuff by me right now. Here's a pair of 3 wearing some Cerberus scales. And you can see the Gungnir is almost the same thickness, really, as the pair of 3. They're real close. But when you look at these knives side by side, the Gungnir looks huge. This is a giant knife compared to a pair of 3, especially when you start talking blade length. Look at that. Oh my goodness. It's you could make 2 pair of 3 blades out of 1 Gungnir blade, right? So this knife is huge, but because it's like normal knife thickness, it carries really comfortably. Plus, these scales are contoured. The whole thing has a nice even contour to it. All the edges are super chamfered and rounded. Nothing is sharp on this knife. Even the flipper tab, it's got a little bit of jimping on it for traction, but it's not sharp or pokey or anything. Everything is smooth and pleasant on here. And then you get a freaking deep carry wire clip, which there's going to be 2 clip options. So there's going to be a milled titanium clip, which I imagine most people will pick because that will seem nicer. Based on what I've seen right now on his site and the conversations I've had with him, pre-order pricing on these, I believe, is going to be $425. Now, that might seem a little expensive to some, but I think a Reat built knife in this size with these materials doesn't seem that expensive to me. Plus, I know Chris is planning to like include some goodies in the box with this knife, which should make it even more compelling. But yeah, you pair this deep carry wire pocket clip with how thin and smooth and contoured this knife is everywhere, and it's actually remarkably comfortable in pocket. So I said I've carried it for 2 days, right? The first day that I had this knife in my possession, I'm on this low carb, high cardio kick right now. I'm trying to lose a bunch of goo. I'm going on a trip in June for my birthday, and I have a goal to hit before then, and I'm trying to kick it off with a bang. So the day that I carried this knife, or the first day, I was in running shorts all day long. And in my running shorts, I was doing a bunch of cardio. My right side pocket, what do I keep in there? My right side pocket is, like, I think my AirPods, and then I have like a mask that's just bundled up in case I need to go into some business or whatever, if there's an emergency or I need water or whatever. And then I keep like a card in there. And then my phone, keep in my left pocket of my running shorts. And so I don't really have pocket space like I would in normal clothes to have a knife in my pocket. So I literally tucked this in my waistband, appendix carry basically, just slightly to the right of center, and carried it in my waistband for the entire day in thin little running shorts. And a knife this size, based on all of my previous experiences with any knives this size, should not be comfortable to carry in my waistband of running shorts to literally go running in. I was blown away that it was comfortable that way. And then yesterday, I carried this all day in regular jeans, and it was fantastic. The fact that a knife this big is as comfortable to carry as this is amazing. I think this knife weighs almost 7 ounces. It's just a hair below 7 ounces. So it seems big, it seems heavy, but something about the smoothness, the thinness, the way that it's all spread out, it honestly feels remarkably kind of light and pleasant in pocket. Now, the thing that I've noticed in my time of being in the knife hobby as well is that most knives that are this big are in a category that typically falls under what I would consider like overbuilt, right? Because if you're going this big, might as well go for the moon. I don't necessarily like that. Don't get me wrong, there are some overbuilt knives that I really enjoy, like the Demco 8020. That's a knife I would consider overbuilt, and I freaking love it. But you don't have to make a knife big and have a more than 4-inch long blade and then also make it stupid thick for no reason. But for some reason, everybody seems to. It's just kind of the norm that if you're going to make a big knife, you're going to make it big in every direction. And I reject that, especially now that I've experienced this, because this thin handle profile makes the knife more comfortable for someone like me who doesn't have gigantic hands, although I'm sure it'll be very comfortable even for people who do have XL hands. I wear a medium-sized glove. I always say I fill it out real well, though. But yeah, so the way that this kind of flies in the face of the typical knives that land in this size range, I believe this blade is 4 1/4. I think the cutting edge overall is 4 inches flat. Like, this is a big folder. This is a pocket sword, but it carries like a normal EDC knife. And it feels in my hand comfortable, even though it's huge. That's impressing me so far. Other main takeaways. The sounds that this knife makes are out of this world good. One of the best sounding folders that I've ever experienced. And it's just really, really fun, the sounds it makes. I'm going to hold it up to my microphone, which is right over here. Everyone that I've shown this knife to, if it's been in a video and they've had the audio on, they have talked about this sound, and it's one of my favorite things about fidgeting with it. Listen to this. It has this sing on deployment where it sounds like a sword coming out of the sheath for battle. Like, it's awesome. And the action in general is just stupid fun. Right now, this has these fullers in production. I'm not sure, I'll have to check with Chris, whether these are going to be cut all the way through or just get deeper. I think they're going to be cut all the way through. I'm looking forward to that. It can, in the meantime, middle finger flick even like this, but I do think it'll be better if that's cut all the way through, because then I can really get my fingernail in there and torque on it. The way it sits right now, I have to use the pad of my finger and kind of push. But yeah, I mean, it middle finger flicks. It's crazy drop shutty. The flipper is awesome. The detent is dialed. It's a Reat bolster lock flipper with a lock bar insert. Of course, this action is good, but man, it is so good. Another thing that's crazy. So usually when knives are this big, again, on the overbuilt theme, you typically get a really thick blade stock and a relatively obtuse blade geometry. This, however, is not an overly thick blade stock. It seems pretty thin, actually, for how long this blade is. It makes it look thinner than it would if it was a short blade, I think. But it's a fairly thin blade stock for this profile. And with this hollow grind, oh my goodness, it is stupid thin behind the edge. I've used this for some pretty fine cutting tasks. Like literally the other day, my daughter got a shipment of toys for the new Disney Raya movie that came out or whatever. And there's like these multiple packs of figurines, like Barbies basically, but they're Disney characters. And those things always have these little like plastic tie downs and little rubber bands all over on them that are holding them in the packaging. And those can actually be like, it shows the dexterity of a knife, I find, to try to cut those things. The sun is really messing with my lighting here now, isn't it? Anyway, this knife was what I had in my pocket, and so I literally used this to unbox all of her little toys, and it did fantastically well. I find with this blade, I can literally just kind of choke up into like a crazy grip like this and get a pretty good torque on that tip. Plus, it does have a forward choil that I find is fairly usable. The jimping is placed super far forward. It's a very nice blade to work with, and the fact that it's so thin behind the edge makes it slice like an absolute dream. So yeah, I mean, I'm thrilled with this knife so far. I'm proud of my buddy Chris for making this because it's excellent. And I'm not saying that because he's my buddy. Like, Chris wants real feedback, and that's another thing I really appreciate about the dude is he's kind of a like, he doesn't care about my feelings. He doesn't care about yours. And I love people like that who he's my friend, and I think he cares about me as a person, but he's not like a tread lightly kind of guy. And so in getting this to me, he wants feedback, and there will be little things that I'll be sending to him along the way, like this fuller. I do think should be a hole all the way through, or at least deeper and a little sharper, so I can use my nail on it. That's a thing that I'll absolutely tell him feedback-wise I think should change, and I think he already knows that. But overall, like, the fact that I'm just grinning about this knife every time I carry it, every time I cut with it, it's making me stupid happy. I'm really, really enjoying it so far. So there will be a full review soon. I'm going to have a lot to say about this, I'm sure. I've already been raving about it here in this video. But yeah, be on the lookout for that full review in less than a week, roughly. And yeah, this is the Renegade Provisions Co Gungnir. And I'll link down below to the site where you can see some info about this and kind of sign up so that you're on the list for pre-order info when the pre-order does go live. And yeah, this is going to be an exciting one. I imagine a lot of people are going to love these. Even people who typically wouldn't carry a knife this big, I think will find that they will be willing to carry this one. That's kind of the way it's been for me. It's very rare for me to carry a knife this large, and if I do, it's like an occasion, right? Like today is a big knife day. This is a knife I could carry every day. And the fact that I'm saying that about a knife this big is really different for me. So yeah, I'll link to them down below. Check them out if you're interested in more info on this one, and be on the lookout for the next one. Thanks, guys.